de comité plénier de la ville de Chambéry, du 3 septembre 2024 à 18h30 à l'édifice municipal. Vous constatez, j'ai fait le point numéro 1 qui est l'ouverture de la réunion. Point numéro 2, c'est l'adoption de l'ordre du jour. On mesure d'avoir quelqu'un pour adopter l'ordre du jour. Proposé par le conseiller Lézard, puis le conseiller Richard. Si vous êtes prêts pour la question, tout le monde en faveur, signer ça par un oui. Qui compte que non, c'est adopté. Point numéro 3, je demanderai au conseil de savoir s'il y avait quelqu'un avec une déclaration de conflit d'intérêt. S'il n'y a pas de conflit d'intérêt suivi de l'ordre du jour, on va passer au point numéro 4, qui est l'adoption du procès verbal de la dernière réunion qui était le
16 juillet.
16 juillet. On mesure d'avoir une proposition côté le procès verbal du 16.
Je propose, monsieur le maire, l'adoption du procès verbal.
Proposé par le conseiller Maillet, appuyé par le conseiller Richard. Si vous êtes prêts pour la question, tout le monde en faveur, signer ça par un oui. Qui compte que non, c'est adopté. Je vois qu'il n'y a rien pour les suivis sur le procès verbal. OK, on peut continuer au point numéro 5, qui est sujet à l'ordre du jour. 5A, c'est enjeux et priorités en vue des élections provinciales. Je pense que ça, c'est un sujet assez important pour le conseil municipal. Ça avait été apporté à une réunion que le conseil a aimé d'en discuter, peut-être donner des suggestions à ceux qui seraient à demander ou qu'est-ce qui étaient les inquiétudes du conseil. À ce moment, je pourrais ouvrir la table, puis on pourrait en discuter à voix claire, puis le DG en même temps peut prendre des notes si c'est quelque chose qu'on a besoin de ça. Je demanderai au conseil de savoir qu'est-ce qui voudrait commencer.
Monsieur le maire, hein?
Oui.
J'ai regardé le dialogue pour action. Dialogue pour action. Par l'Union des municipalities of Réunion. Very interesting things that they're talking about here and recommendations that they're making. And there's three things that touch me a lot, close, and I think should be, we should, if we're going to talk about something with the government in the next month or so, because of the election, is to make sure that the new fiscal framework is well undergo and it's going to work for all municipalities. And there's some very interesting things that I've read under that is, as you know, the population is increasing, and that there are many municipalities in the province and the tax base are different. Some is growing, some less, and some municipalities with less tax base are having extreme challenges in trying to meet both ends. And I'm afraid that some might be in very, very trouble unless that the government does not look at the costs and the responsibilities, the increase that is needed for those municipalities. And I'm talking about corruption, and also talking about trying to help those that are probably more in need. The other thing is there's the progress that is recommended on the housing infrastructures. And I think that the municipalities recognize and are asking government to address the housing affordability. Make sure that the right kind of housing supply is growing and is being built. I think that's very important. And I see it as well as an important factor. The other thing is the security. And they're recommending the municipalities, a new model for policing, service of police. And I see why. Because look at the problems in the province right now, everywhere with the security. And I think it's very important that it's being addressed and looked at in different ways and how it could be addressed. So those are some of the tweets. There's a lot of good things there that is, and I'm sure that some of you here will have some comments on it. So that's my few words on the priorities for the election coming up that we should be addressing, among other things that we could certainly talk about. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, conseiller premier. Est-ce qu'il y aurait quelqu'un d'autre qui voudrait adresser la parole? Conseiller Maillet.
Monsieur le maire, je suis parfaitement d'accord avec les commentaires du conseiller premier au niveau de la sécurité publique, au niveau du cadre financier et au niveau du logement. Certainement, au niveau de la sécurité publique, il y a beaucoup à faire, il y a tous les services, mais il y a beaucoup d'initiatives qui pourraient être mises en place à la fois par les municipalités, mais en accord avec et en collaboration plutôt avec le gouvernement provincial pour sensibiliser, pour aider les gens dans certaines initiatives au niveau local. La sécurité publique, selon moi, est un gros enjeu. Puis, je ne suis pas certain qu'il y a beaucoup qui a été fait dans ce dossier-là par le passé. Un autre dossier c'est au niveau des services que j'appelle services de proximité. C'est des services qui sont offerts par le secteur public ou plutôt par le secteur privé, mais il faut arriver à travailler ensemble avec la province, le gouvernement provincial, pour développer ou ajouter d'autres services de proximité, que ce soit au niveau des hôpitaux, que ce soit au niveau de d'autres services en santé. Selon moi, il doit y avoir une plus grande collaboration entre les gouvernements locaux et provinciaux dans ce domaine-là, et avoir qu'il y ait un engagement de la part des différents partis politiques pour que ça se fasse. Il y a tout le dossier des infrastructures puis ici, l'infrastructure peut être vue très large, mais il y a des domaines comme les routes et les ponts qu'on a besoin d'une meilleure collaboration, d'une planification plus poussée pour arriver à ce que nos infrastructures, principalement les routes et les ponts, soient en mesure de répondre à la fois aux besoins des gens, mais aussi de favoriser le développement économique et le développement de nos communautés. Et monsieur le maire, j'en ai d'autres là, mais c'en est quelques-unes au-delà de celles qui avaient été mentionnées par le conseiller premier. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, conseiller Maillet. Thank you. Councillor Hicks.
I requested, they have money there for the infrastructure fund. Has anybody looked into seeing what we could obtain from that? These money guys that came here, they're helping out with housing and one thing and another. They gotta have the council here between you and the CEO, if we can't figure things out. Or has anybody attempted to take and get a hold of anybody about infrastructure money? There's all kinds of money was there. And we're always talking about infrastructure. Has anybody attempted to take and grab any of that money yet? That'd be my question.
I can probably maybe elaborate on that. Is there any infrastructure for the old town of Saint Antoine? Our engineers do look at all projects that come out elsewhere, like in the LFD of Chandelier, that money wouldn't be applicable to that. So yes, probably our engineers are well aware, and there are projects like what the person en anglais, le plan de
Asset management.
asset management. So there is an asset management, but as per now, we don't have any projects that's been applied for. So yeah, it will be looked into by the engineers and all this also. I don't know if that can help. Because there was actually projects prior to this funding. Just to give you an idea, is the last project that we did came from probably Englobe that looked into it and said, listen, there is infrastructure money there, you should apply on this. So but we will look into it for sure.
And just to add to that, we actually, I did look into it, and it's the Green Municipal Fund, so it's very specific on green infrastructure. So there's a lot of for transportation and all that we wouldn't necessarily apply in our case. But yeah, we're in discussion, like the mayor said, with the engineer firm, and up until now, they didn't find really any projects that would really fit right into it, but we're still looking to see if there's any other option.
Y a-t-il d'autres questions? Any other commentaires sur le point de enjeux et priorités en vue des élections provinciales? Conseiller Richard.
Ok, moi, je vais partager le même message que le conseil économique, le conseil maillé a soulevé. Comme il faut regarder sur le point des services publics, c'est à part au moins un meilleur modèle au point de vue policy model qu'on a dans la province. Un autre affaire aussi, c'est adresser la double taxe qu'il y a sur les propriétés de location. Puis aussi, c'est travailler ensemble en collaboration avec la province pour essayer de faire avancer nos agendas. Ça, c'est ça les priorités. Puis aussi, les routes, pour les autres, c'est assez de pression aussi sur la province pour améliorer nos routes ici dans Chandelier. Puis on va avoir des belles routes à voir là-dessus. Puis aussi, c'est point de vue de housing, c'est travailler ensemble au sein de la province pour essayer de voir qu'est-ce que le meilleur modèle pour adresser le shortage qu'on a en affordable housing units qu'on a dans la région, puis aussi dans la province. C'est ça mes points.
Merci beaucoup, conseiller Richard. Ajouter aussi peut-être à ce point-là que c'est parce qu'on avait assisté à démarre à un moment donné, puis je suis fier de l'avoir vu dans le progrès de l'Union des municipalités, que les deux municipalités sont rejointes ensemble pour travailler ensemble pour emporter ce document-là à la province. Une des choses que j'apprécie beaucoup, c'est une réforme juste et l'évaluation de la taxation foncière, un transfert complet de la taxation foncière, une plus importante partage de revenus TVH. Ça avait été mentionné dans plusieurs reprises avec des municipalités, que ça nous ferait, parce qu'on sait tous que tous les services que la municipalité devra offrir au plus grand nombre présentement, c'est qu'il va nous manquer de l'argent. C'est ça que la province devrait nous donner l'argent qu'on peut manager. C'était ça qui était l'inquiétude. Puis je vois qu'on demande ça à la province, puis que moi, mon effort, ça serait de justifier, puis de demander à la province aussi, avec le support des deux associations, qu'on ait l'argent qu'on peut travailler avec pour faire des projets, puis qu'est-ce que le monde a besoin. Les points sont très valides, comme avec les infrastructures, les routes, les choses-là. Je pense qu'il devrait y avoir une transparence, une communication un petit peu plus approfondie comme conseiller maire. Mais ces points-là, à moi, c'est important aussi. Ça prend de l'argent pour faire tous ces projets-là, puis tout travailler avec pour les citoyens de notre municipalité. Je voulais juste ajouter ça, que ça, c'est une de mes priorités, vraiment. Puis le reste du document est tout correct. C'est quoi que j'ai remarqué qui m'a vraiment inspiré de vous en parler. Conseiller Maillet?
Monsieur le maire, j'aimerais juste dire un mot au niveau du cadre fiscal, cadre financier. Ça a été mentionné par vous-même et par quelques conseillers comme une priorité, puis je suis parfaitement d'accord. Je voudrais dire, puis aller aussi loin, que c'est pratiquement la priorité numéro 1. Dans le sens qu'avec un meilleur cadre financier, un meilleur partage des responsabilités, un meilleur partage des revenus, on pourrait aller plus loin à rencontrer d'autres priorités qu'on a sans les ressources, puis sans d'une manière prévisible, puis planifiée à moyen et à plus long terme. Ça devient très difficile de faire puis de mettre en place les services et les programmes que nos citoyens demandent. Et puis que ce soit au niveau des loisirs, que ce soit au niveau du développement économique, au niveau des routes aussi. Ça fait le cadre financier, d'après moi, c'est comme presque une catégorie à part au niveau de l'importance. L'autre, monsieur le maire, je vais mentionner sur le niveau de communication. On a parlé pendant la dernière année à plusieurs occasions que ça soit même au niveau Internet, là, mais au niveau de services cellulaires. C'est un enjeu majeur du point de vue de sécurité publique, puis du point de vue de développement, puis j'irais ajouter aussi simple communication sociale. Mais du point de vue de développement économique, puis sécurité publique, au niveau de communication, c'est un sujet majeur, d'après moi, puis une priorité, puis un besoin. Je voulais ajouter ces deux commentaires d'une classe stratégique, mais ajouter communication aussi dans la liste.
Merci beaucoup, conseiller Babylon.
Ce qui a trait la discussion sur un meilleur modèle pour le service policier, je ne suis pas contre ce qui est une étude pour le regarder, mais j'apporterais un cautionnement à sauter aux conclusions trop rapidement sur OK, il faut faire des unités de police régionale, il faut faire, puis c'est nommé de la GRC. J'apporterais une inquiétude à ce niveau-là, surtout au niveau des coûts et de la prestation de service. J'ai hâte de voir qu'est-ce qui va être discuté parce que j'ai juste entendu des buzzwords à cet effet-là. En fait, ça décrit bien parce que c'est ce que j'entends beaucoup. au niveau des sujets qui sont apportés, c'est des buzzwords. On parle du dossier économique, on parle de la viabilité des conseils. Meilleur service de police. On sait, puis je vais faire l'écho de plusieurs conseillers à la table ici, la formule de péréquation qui diminue est une inquiétude. Comme on dit en anglais, that horse is left to learn. I don't think we're going to get that money back. It's going to reduce for a few years. And we know it's going to the Regional Service Commission for services that they have now been given. And not only are we losing that money, but those services are also costing more. So we're paying twice. We're losing the money that's going to regional service commissions and the cost is increasing. So that's a losing battle. You would have some that would say, okay, we need to explore some sources of revenues. Our sources of revenues are very limited here. We, in comparison to other municipalities, have very little we can collect other than what we're currently collecting. So I'm racking my brain on where we would get other sources of revenues. It's just not coming. I wish somebody could give me some clues, maybe sharing best practices with other municipalities such as ours, see what they're doing. And then we have to admit that we talk about special programming. Well, I sure hope there's going to be more special programming, because right now that is what is giving us our balanced budget. We have an artificially balanced budget. If we look at our budget and we say, okay, we're balanced this year, it's only because we're getting money from special programs. Same would apply for last year, same would apply for next year. So the question is, how long will those last? And we don't have the answer to that. We have, and then we would be told, okay, well, you can always increase the taxes. Well, you know what, that's not our first choice, it's actually our last choice, it's the last thing we want to do, and we made it pretty clear we don't want to do it. So with the increase in property taxes relating to the values of property going up, I don't think our citizens want to see increases in tax rates, that's for sure. And we'll probably be defending that position. So my last point is going to be specific to those documents we received. And there was one very interesting one that caused me to reflect. It refers to election readiness and invites us to be election ready. And I appreciate the heads up. It outlines 5 very specific actions we can take. One of which lends itself to advocacy and leadership role that we can play. And it speaks specifically to a candidates forum, or if you like, a debate. I think it would be very appropriate for us to carry the torch in that respect and to exercise our leadership in gathering topics other than just our own individual topics as we're doing tonight and our collective ones that we might agree on, because we seem to agree on most of the topics, but I'd be curious to see what our citizens want to see for topics, and it would be interesting for us to gather them and to maybe coordinate such a candidates forum or a debate. Of course, when you do that, you want to make sure that there's no surprise questions. They want them to be ready because we actually want answers. It's not the gotcha type of debate that we want. So the idea is that our people be exposed to positions and platforms from the parties, and I think if we were to be doing that, we would definitely play a role of leadership in our community for election readiness. And it just so happens that we're being invited to do so by that document we received.
Conseiller Passage.
Just want to say a few things about how this is coming about. Since COVID hit in 2020, we've seen a change in the world, in Canada, and around the world has been unbelievable. A lot of people have retired. So the government was forced to bring in a lot more immigrants to this country to replace these workers. But the government somehow, they didn't really take into consideration that we need infrastructure for these people, we need housing for these people to live in. So they kind of passed that on to municipalities, and some of the municipalities weren't ready for all that influx of people. Everybody knows that the price of food is up, the price of gas is up, properties are up, inflation is sky high. So, you know, the government said, well, we'll give you some grant money, some funds to help you cope with that. But some municipalities are not prepared, they don't have infrastructure to handle that influx of people coming all at once. So there has to be better communication between the provincial, the federal, and the municipal government, so you can plan better in advance for these events to happen. Like it's appalling how the government said, well, here's funding, they just give us $3.5 million in funds to build apartments or but here in San Juan, it's okay, it's nice to have it, but we don't have the infrastructure to handle all that. We're not ready for that. Like, we can't keep changing R1 to R3. And where are we gonna put the houses after, when people wanna build a house, there's no more room in town to build a house? Where are we gonna have apartments? You know, so it's planning, the government has to have a better way of planning municipalities, which direction they wanna go in the future. See, you say, well, here, we'll give you, 50,000, another 50 people or 100 people in your community. Well, where are we gonna put them? We're not ready for that. You know, so there has to be a better communication between the local and the federal and provincial government. It's easy for them to say, well, here it is. You work it out. It's easy to say that. Sometimes it takes time and it's not easy to do. So that's all I have to say, is just that we need better cooperation. Thank you very much.
Conseiller Babineau.
Councillor Bastanache, you make excellent points, and in your observations that we were not, and we're still not ready to accommodate. However, we do need those people more than ever. And we know with the announcement of our senior home facility here, we're gonna need even more. There would be some that would say that we want less of it. I would say we want more of it. The problem probably lies in the fact that all of these programs and the whole plan originally was to send all of these people in the bigger centers, not in our municipality. They were destined for Moncton, St. John, and Fredericton. So all of the, up to now, when we showed leadership and applied for CMHC funding, all of the initiatives, all of the programming, all of the discussions, all of the efforts were pointing all of these newcomers to our region, to those major centers, not to us. And this is why we were left behind. So yes, we do have to play a leadership role. We do have to say, here's what we need in order to carry forward our infrastructure. And maybe our infrastructure is not all in the ward of San Antoine. Maybe we need to look outside. Maybe we need to, as Councillor Mayen spoke eloquently at our last meeting, we need to have a more coordinated discussion on planning. What does the future look like as far as housing? It's not just build it and they will come. Maybe we're building them in the wrong places. So we need to have that discussion, and it's not one that we can put to government. We need to have it. Their plan was clearly sent them somewhere else. So if we're gonna be doing it, we're gonna have to exercise leadership and make our own plan.
Conseiller Premier.
Ici, monsieur le maire, le même commentaire que je voudrais, c'est que, faut dire que la réforme a seulement apporté beaucoup plus de responsabilités pour les municipalités qui demandent d'aller des argent. Alors, avec la grandeur présentement du territoire, moi j'appelle les vieilles municipalités comme Saint-Antoine, et avec les aides nouveaux, il y a un besoin plus grand. Il y a de nouveau que les DSL s'attendent à voir. C'est aussi. Ça va prendre des argent. Il y a une affaire que ça que j'apporte, c'est pour dire que les anciennes municipalités comme Saint-Antoine, ça va accueillir différentes choses, différents services qui avons pu offrir à la population, mais ces services-là vieillissent. Ils ont besoin de réparations majeures et ça. Et alors, il y avait des municipalités comme nous autres, certains points, où est-ce qu'on avait déjà de la difficulté financière, où est-ce qu'on ne peut pas se permettre de monter des taxes potassiques pour même entretenir nos routes. Nos routes, c'est une maison. Okay? Puis l'autre, c'est des services essentiels comme les services d'égout, qui ont 61 ans de vieux, okay? Qui a besoin de réparations majeures. Alors, j'espère que le gouvernement va prendre ça en considération dans une nouvelle politique fiscale, que ces anciennes municipalités-là, il y a plusieurs qui sont en souffrance avec tout ça qui se passe et qu'il faut certainement arriver à pouvoir trouver des fonds pour aider, surtout ceux qui ont des infrastructures déjà existantes, vieillissantes, pour les amener au moins à un niveau raisonnable. Merci.
Conseiller Richard.
Comme pour tomber sur le même point que conseiller commun, comme moi je donne un exemple. Le 2% de taxe de TVA que le gouvernement, que les progressistes conservateurs sont en train de proposer, moi, ce que je ferais, je mettrais de la pression sur le gouvernement progressiste conservateur de maintenir le 2%, et prendre l'argent qui prenait de se sauver de ce 2%-là, puis réinvestir ça dans nos communautés. Ça, c'est des affaires qui vont nous aider à avoir plus de revenus, puis au moins être capable qu'on puisse être capable de financer des sortes de projets qu'on va financer dans la communauté. C'est ce qu'on met la pression, puis ce 2%-là, pour les 450 millions que vous planifiez de vous sauver à chaque année. À place de faire ça, c'est prendre ces 450 millions-là, puis de réinvestir ça dans les communautés, puis aussi dans les projets d'infrastructure.
Conseiller Mayette.
Monsieur le maire, une bonne discussion, plusieurs enjeux, je pense, qui sont importants pour un peu tout le monde. Conseiller Bobino soulevait le point, bon, c'est peut-être plus des enjeux personnels et qu'est-ce que la population veut. On a besoin peut-être d'aller chercher cette information-là. C'est pas peut-être, il y a ça devrait. On devrait avoir cette information-là. Mais ce qui m'amène au prochain point, monsieur le maire, c'est qu'il nous reste à peu près 6 semaines avant l'élection. Quelles sont les prochaines étapes pour amener ces points-là devant les candidats et donner la chance de se prononcer? Est-ce qu'on veut favoriser un débat ou une discussion entre les candidats? Qu'est-ce qu'on voit comme prochaine étape? D'avoir une liste de 7-8 enjeux, puis bon, ben, qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec ça? Est-ce que c'est sous forme de questionnaire à chacun des candidats? Et 2-3 semaines avant le scrutin, on a les réponses, puis on partage cette information-là. Est-ce qu'on va avoir des discussions, des rencontres avec chaque candidat, ou est-ce qu'on veut... Il y a différentes manières d'amener ces points-là. Puis, je pense qu'en bout de la ligne, ça qu'on cherche, c'est un engagement de part de poursuivre ce dossier-là. Puis faire valoir comment c'est important et pourquoi c'est important, et puis à souhaiter qu'ils pourront rencontrer nos attentes dans les prochains 4 ans si ces personnes-là sont élues. J'aimerais savoir où est-ce qu'on veut aller avec ce dossier-là, les élections, d'un point de vue collectif, d'un point de vue de ville de Chaudière.
Bon point. C'est certain que il va y avoir une rencontre à Fredericton pour les plus hauts placés. Là, je pense que l'invitation, je ne suis pas sûr de la date, le 19 de septembre. Mais ça serait intéressant d'avoir du monde local ici, savoir qui joue avec les mêmes. Ça, c'est au conseil à décider. Si vous les invitez ici, vous parlez ou le commentaire qu'on fait un questionnaire, oui, ça serait peut-être une bonne affaire que ils envoient un questionnaire puis ça donnerait la chance à les répondre. C'est certain que l'importance d'aller à lui parler, c'est très important. Moi, j'ai déjà adressé à quelques reprises des certaines choses à des personnes qui ont politique, mais oui, c'est un bon point. Councillor Hicks. Peut-être si on venir à nouveau avec une consensus de quelle manière que le conseil veut, si j'avais une suggestion du conseil, ça sera déterminé. Councillor Hicks.
Yeah, following up on the comments, like, that's when I refer to the infrastructure, like, what is the plan? Where are we going? Well, if we're gonna have probably 100 jobs coming with that, when they get the seniors place, but where are the people gonna live? Like, people are in culture shock over here in Gerard, going from R1 to R3. They've asked to have a meeting with the developer and all that, that's been going on for 2-3 months. Where are we gonna go, left, right, north, south, east, west, what's the plan for? We gotta grow, we gotta go somewhere, that's why I say the infrastructure, we need more pipes, we need more of everything, whatever, and it's like Leon says, I mean, they just start up there, Trudeau wants everything to go away, and they can make everything perfect, and he's catering to the big cities, we bought in and spent money to get a part of this, to grab some money, but was the plan where how are the meetings going, the developers, what are they asking for? Which way do they want to go? Where's their best place to take and put pipe in the ground so we can attract some stuff? There's money, there's all kinds of money there. There's billions and billions of dollars there. That's there. And I don't know why we can't go get a hold of something and make a plan to go one way or the other and get some developers to say, what do you want to do? We're going to get somebody to go this way, that way, up, down. But I mean, it's a culture shock for the people in Gerard to go from R1 to R3. They're sitting there dreaming about the guy trying to get the R3 zoning for a 24 unit. Well, in 5.2 acres of land, there's gonna be lots of grass to mow. There's lots of opportunity to develop. And to have that meeting with the people from up there, the developer, council, the councillors from here. I got no problem going to attend because I like to take and go and hear what the plan is that. But everybody's running around in fear. And I mean, the little village of St. Antoine's got to grow, and there's money out there. We paid to get a part of the play. And what is our plan? Like, I haven't heard any kind of a plan of what we're going to do. But we got to take and you talk about the hires up. Well, you're the boss. You got to get up with all those hires up and poke the pig. See what you can find out. What we can do. But if we want to grow, we got to be in the know. We got to get into the dirt, get our fingers dirty, get our boots dirty, and find out which way we want to go. But right now, what's the plan right now? Where are you gonna house 100 new employees coming to town? Where's the housing? There's no housing. So we really gotta get on top, and like Leon says, the big guys up top, there's all kinds of money at the top, and all we gotta do is we gotta get in the right little hole, the cubby hole, to get in there and get a grab of what's there, because what we're gonna ask for is just a little piece of the pie compared to big cities. But if we want to turn into a bigger city than we are now as a town, we gotta have a plan. Right now, I don't see any plan that's come forward, whatever. So we gotta get our fingers dirty, whatever. We gotta get dirty boots, gotta get in there and find out what's what, who's who, what we can get. Whether they talk about infrastructure, whether there's money there somewhere for something. Whatever category, it's not necessarily just the plans we got going on now, but for future development. And if we gotta take and say here, we can get some pipe going up one road or the other, because we gotta go one way or the other. And there's only one way to do it, with money. We don't have the money here fiscally, whatever they can do all that. There's money there. But we just gotta get up, in my opinion, we gotta get a little higher up and you gotta get in with the big shots. And they can put the squeeze on for what they can do to help this little place grow and everything that stuff. That's my thoughts, whatever. Thank you.
Conseiller Pavillon.
Si je reviens aux propos du conseiller Maillard, ainsi que les miens, une invitation par rapport à un forum ou un débat ou quelque chose du genre, je suis un peu embêté parce que à la réunion de ce soir, on peut faire ni directive, ni motion, ni même décision à cet effet-là. Ça fait que je ne sais pas trop où aller, mais je voulais simplement faire l'écho que je suis d'accord que le temps va être court. Peut-être que, en regardant mon calendrier, peut-être que la réunion régulière de septembre va nous permettre de faire une décision, puis de se tourner le bord, détasser pour, j'imagine que si les candidates ont l'occasion de se tourner le bord dans un délai assez rapide, peut-être que nous autres aussi. Mais j'aime beaucoup l'idée d'avoir l'occasion de consulter la population. Je ne suis pas certain si on serait capable de rassembler tout ça et de recevoir les commentaires. Peut-être que le débat classique sera notre solution. Je ne sais pas, il faudra peut-être attendre au 17 septembre pour être capable de faire une décision à ce que-là.
OK. Conseiller Cormier.
Merci, M. le maire. Je crois, faire suite un peu, est-ce que le conseiller, Marc et conseiller Maillard font référence à, font le débat ou quelque chose. Je crois que, c'est un examen dans le passé, que la population, les gens s'attendent lors des élections, qu'il va y avoir un genre que ça s'appelle débat, un genre de panel ou quelque chose, où est-ce que le conseil va pouvoir donner leurs idées aux politiciens, à ceux qui se présentent, les candidats et aussi les chefs, d'une salle ou quelque part, où est-ce que les gens pourront participer. Alors, c'est comme que le conseiller Maillard disait, il nous reste juste 6 semaines. C'est pas attendre la veille, la dernière semaine, et dire, ouais, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Alors, il faut que quelqu'un, qu'on dirait en anglais, takes the bull by the horn and put something in place as soon as possible. Les gens s'attendent qu'il va y avoir, on va organiser quelque chose. Merci.
OK. On peut prendre ça en considération et peut-être l'administration pourrait organiser une rencontre, demander on ne sait même pas qui se présente présentement, juste une personne qui s'est déclarée, l'autre personne, je ne sais pas qui. On peut certainement éviter les personnes qui sont déclarées pour un débat officiel et de quelle manière que si je veux l'accepter aussi, il faut qu'ils l'acceptent. Aussi, c'est certain qu'il faut demander à les candidats eux-mêmes, peut-être qu'ils ont refusé, je ne sais pas, mais on peut certainement leur demander. Je sais que tout de suite, on a juste une candidature qui s'est présentée officiellement, mais on peut lui demander demain matin s'il veut faire un débat. Mais je pense que le débat, c'est pas vraiment un débat, c'est plus une période de questions. On peut faire un 5 à 7 si vous voulez, avec les gens qui partagent les opinions avec eux. Mais il faut que ça soit organisé par l'administration ou peut-être les questions qui pourraient venir du conseil, comme les questions qui viennent à soir, puis on pourrait lui demander ces questions-là.
Pour sûr qu'un 5 à 7 informel, c'est ça, je pense qu'on a besoin d'un endroit où les plateformes peuvent être, comme le conseil Cormier a dit, peuvent être élaborées. Je ne suis pas sûr que le 5 à 7 va donner
c'est juste une opinion.
À donner à étaler le sujet comme il faut. Ça fait que je pense que j'inviterais plutôt à la recommandation de l'urgence si l'administration va s'en occuper. Comme j'ai dit, c'est difficile pour nous autres parce qu'on ne peut pas avoir autant de clarté qu'on voudrait à exprimer qu'est-ce qu'on veut, parce qu'on ne peut pas faire de directive, ni une motion, ni une décision en soi.
OK. On peut le garder puis inviter, c'est ça, on invitera les personnes qui sont prononcées sur les partis, savoir s'ils seraient intéressés de faire une rencontre avec les citoyens de Chambéry. Councillor Hayes.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think we're in deep need of, we had that meeting back in January. On the Saturday, we all got together and discussed different items and topics. Like, you know, we got an email that said that we're not allowed to go have lunch and talk about business. So where are we supposed to talk about business? We're supposed to sit by the corner here by the post office and talk there? So I mean, it's like really, we said we're gonna do that 3 or 4 times a year. And that was back the first year, the first quarter, very early in the year. I'm not sure, forget the date, probably close to the January, if it wasn't anything else. But we really gotta take and get together to take and talk things up. There's a whole lot of issues that are taken all over the place. And if we're not allowed to go have lunch and talk about it, maybe we can skip lunch and go talk about it, or sit in the corner and argue up there, and they can discuss up there, whatever. Get our hands going, maybe that'll get people wondering what's going on with council, but we really have a lot of issues that are taken, that the story changes, it's one story, it's another story, but we're not allowed to talk about it. So I think it really, I would encourage strongly that something gets arranged for us all to get together on a Saturday like we did back then, so we can take, there's a whole lot of things that they can, could be aired, whatever, that they can, that's just my thoughts, whatever, I could be wrong, but it's just my thoughts anyway. Thank you.
Councillor Labier.
Well, Councillor Hicks, you know that I'm looking forward to that meeting, and I've been asking for it for a while again. I just want to clarify one thing. We may have misread that email that we got. And if you're referring to the email that we got from IFMNP, I think it was an email that was inviting us to caution. And I think what I take of it is might be different than what you're taking of it. You could read that email and say, we're not allowed to go talk at a restaurant, and they gave that example in the email. I'm not sure they said we can't. I'm just saying, I think what the spirit of their comments was that we shouldn't be meeting outside of council and make decisions outside of council, or debate outside of council, or coordinate our votes outside of council. I think those things are very clear that we should refrain from doing, and I would agree with those. I don't think anybody would be in a position to say that we can't talk about things outside of council. And if somebody were, I would argue it very aggressively. And I don't think that's what was said. I would invite us to go back and read that email and look at maybe the spirit of what's in there. Because like you, I can't imagine how we can conduct any type of business as an organization if we limit our conversations and our intelligence gathering and our sharing of ideas to the limited time that we meet here in these chambers. It's just not possible. So if you want to reduce an organization to its most ridiculous inefficiency, then that's what it would look like. So I'm gonna go back and read it myself, just for clarity, but I remember reading it a few times, and I guess it's not what's said, but what people understand, and that's how I choose to understand that email.
All right, so I think we touched based on a few things. Everything's been noted. I mean, it's important that everything's noted, and I hear the concern of all the councillors, and there is some discussion that needs to be done on this subject of political election provincial. So that the topic for tonight was on, to make sure that we'll make sure that we do reach out to the candidates to make sure that our voice has been heard. So we'll look into trying to arrange something in the next few days or early next week to see if the candidates wants to come and meet the people, and we'll address that way. Councilor Mayer.
Monsieur le maire, j'aimerais prendre l'occasion de souligner deux énoncés dans un des trois documents de l'Union de municipalité. D'abord, je veux souligner le beau travail qui a été fait, qui a peut-être été fait pas pour les élections passées, mais je n'ai pas pris connaissance avant tout dernièrement, avant la fin de semaine. Mais je trouve que les trois documents, certains sont répétitifs un peu, mais c'est très bien fait. Puis, mais il y avait des choses qui m'ont saisi, qui m'ont intéressé. Mais à la page 7 du document guide de la représentation des intérêts de l'Union des municipalités du Nouveau-Brunswick. Puis, je suggère, M. le maire, puis les conseillers un peu réfléchir. Pour moi, j'ai réfléchi à les énoncés, je vais lire les deux. Les énoncés de position de l'Union des municipalités du Nouveau-Brunswick en matière de représentation des intérêts servent à améliorer notre capacité de présenter un message clair, exhaustif et homogène au gouvernement, à l'industrie et à la société civile. Puis, la dernière phrase à la page 7 du document en français, parler d'une voix unie augmente la crédibilité de notre travail de représentation des intérêts et accroît nos probabilités de réussite. Je crois que ces deux énoncés-là ont toute une signification dans le contexte des organisations comme l'Union des municipalités, comme l'Association francophone des municipalités, mais autant à l'intérieur du conseil municipal de la ville de Chambéry. Merci.
OK. Je pense qu'on va passer au point. Très bonne discussion. J'apprécie tous les commentaires. On est certain que tout a été documenté, puis on va travailler fort pour avoir ces rencontres-là avec les personnes que, tu sais, les commentaires sont bien pris. On se doit de pouvoir organiser cette séance-là avec des personnes. Je suggérerais d'une façon, si on va de l'avant avec ça, que les conseillers soient peut-être d'une manière à pouvoir soumettre des inquiétudes, des commentaires ou des questions. Je pense que ce serait peut-être nécessaire de le faire. C'est à votre choix, mais je pense que on reviendra avec la manière que les choses allaient se procéder. On va aller au prochain point, qui est le point numéro 6, c'est huis clos, sous l'article 6A, article 68-1 de la loi sur la gouvernance locale. J'aurais besoin de quelqu'un pour proposer qu'on sorte en réunion de clos.
Proposé qu'on sorte en clos.
Proposé par le conseiller Cormier, appuyé par le conseiller Richard. On reviendra de nouveau en réunion régulière pour le point numéro 7, numéro 8. Le public sera avisé. C'est ça? Oui. On avisera parce qu'on a huis clos. Okay. On a besoin d'une résolution pour revenir en réunion plénière.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Proposé par le conseiller pastoral, suivi de
Je sais demander.
conseiller Richard. Tout le monde en faveur, signé ça par un oui.
Oui.
Qui compte que non, c'est adopté. Excuse-moi, Jean, on est obligé.
Ah,
Point numéro 7, sujet soulevé par les conseillers. Je demanderai au conseil s'il y a des choses qu'on voudrait apporter de nouveau à une réunion plénière pour la prochaine réunion. Je pense que c'est la parole. Conseiller pastoral.
Oui, je viens juste à un point, j'ai parlé à Corey pour les farmers de la propriété l'autre jour.
Oh,
Ouais.
non, on ne peut pas en parler.
C'est bon?
Excuse-moi.
C'est bon, merci.
C'est juste ça.
Fini, that's it.
Merci beaucoup, conseiller pastoral. Conseiller Richard, je pense. Ou conseiller Higgs. Conseiller Higgs.
All right, I'd like to take and ask some questions about our last meeting, where we had to vote regarding the gala for violence. I was a little taken, I was taken back the way this whole thing unfolded. I felt, and maybe just a personal thought, whatever, I thought this was really throwing us in a wrongful way. This group started in April. They had May, June, July, and the first week of August to work some out. They had their tickets printed to be the function to be here. Where did we go wrong? Where did they go wrong? Where did we as a council go wrong in taking, telling them the procedure? Because the way I understand is we got two funds here, council. One is for $10,000, Mr. Mayor, one's to $25,000 in. They came and they had all that time to go through the right door, through the front door to Janice, through to Tina or Daddy or whoever, to go, and we have a group of counselors. We have a group of counselors that decide how much money's left there, how much money we could perhaps give out, and then the proper procedure would become the council and taken, we would vote as a council. Where was the lapse of thought or direction to get them to play by the rules like everybody else? You, Mr. Mayor, had to leave in the other room. I don't know why, what your conflict of interest was. I've heard that your wife was involved with the group. I'm not sure. But and everybody got mad at Mark because he had to sit in your chair. It was 3-3, he had to make the deciding vote. If he'd have been sitting there, it would have been the same vote, 4-3. Taken is the way it ended up in the end. But where was the proper procedure for them to come in? I don't like, number one, I don't like us as a council, because it wasn't talked about whatsoever before they threw it in our face to make a judgment call, whatever. Violence, I've worked with Crossroads for Women before, raised thousands of dollars for them through real estate, and taken violence and alcohol don't go hand in hand in my, so for us to take and do the uncorking the bottle of wine, giving them free this, free that, free something else. Well, I mean, we're here to help out. I mean, it's a great organization. Don't get me wrong. I'm not slamming the organization. I'm slamming our organization for not getting them through the right gates to go through the proper procedures, which we got here tonight. It was like, it was almost like embarrassing, you know, to take and come to a conclusion because nobody knew. This was just tossed out with the idea perhaps that would get fast forward right through. So who misdirected that, or how was that misguided along the way for that it ended up bypassing all the right procedures and then ended up down in our desk to vote on that? I'd like to hear the background on that one.
I will step out because I am in conflict, so I don't want to be involved in, because I wasn't involved in the first discussion, but the CEO or le maire adjoint communication là-dessus, ces discussions-là.
Can you reiterate your question?
I'd like to have maybe Tina tell me how this ended up for us having to vote on it. They had, they started in April. They had May, June, July, 3 full months first week of August, then they put that in front of council with really not a whole lot of dialogue previous to that, just trying to force feed it through. And then guess what? The next day, whether they do the rent up the street, I would be embarrassed as a mayor if my wife was involved with that. They could have been there. There's the problem. We say that the Morris meeting that we had back in January, whatever, where there's a lot of things that we're skipping the beat and we're bypassing. So maybe the CEO, the mayor's gone, maybe you can take and help me understand that process, because they wanted a free room. They wanted us to open up the bottles. They want us to do the corking fee and buy a table and all that. And they're asking us to vote on that. I got no idea how much is in those funds. There's a group here that looks after that, as far as I know, isn't there? So where was that procedure when they came in the front door looking for that? I'd be interested in that.
So all the procedures were done exactly the same as any other organization that wants to rent a room. They come, they visit the room, they book the date. We have a contract. As you saw, the contract wasn't signed because the employee didn't know the amount to charge, because he knew they were gonna come to council for a request. We tell the organization if they ask for a free room, we say you have to submit a letter to council. The committee that takes care of it hadn't had a meeting since the beginning of May. So there was no way to bring that request to the committee. So that's why it came right to council, because there was no meetings to get that taken care of. And the event was coming up in less than a month. So that's the same procedures as any other organization that would have done a request. Nothing was done differently in this case.
But when they come for requests, that's when you call the group together to take and decide on this stuff, isn't it? Am I right or wrong on that? Like if you got groups that come, if you got different groups come ask for we'll use example where I'm from, the 4-H club or Camp Wildwood or the Hall, and they ask for certain money they hear there's money out there to be shared, whatever, and they come with a purpose, and then they say, okay, we got some requests in, or the hockey team or whatever, but there's a process that I'm understanding that it goes through, that there's counselors on this group. So why didn't they go through that? Like you can't have a meeting if you guys get nothing to talk about. So they had something to talk about. They've been talking about that since April, May, June, July, August. We had 3 full months and they weren't directed that way. They just thought they'd get here and they're just gonna force feed this through.
No, they were told the same as everybody else to do a request. The request came in August. We don't have control when the requests come. And they came in August, and that's when it was brought to the next meeting, because the date of the event was not before the next meeting of the committee. We had other requests that were done exactly the same that came to council first, because the event or the request that they were asking for was before the next meeting of the committee. So it's not the first time, and usually that's the way they're taking care of.
So there might be some confusion. Maybe we can help to clarify some of that confusion. So who did the original request, the original one, the contract that's not signed?
The organization contacted Joël, who's the director of recreation, like every other rentals.
No, who in the organization?
In where?
Who in the organization?
I'm not sure. I would have to ask Joël. He deals with all the rentals, and I don't know who books them.
So I would say we could ask Joël. Okay, we'll have to ask Joël. And we don't know exactly when, because there was no, like Councillor Hicks stated, there was no date on that contract, right? So we don't know when that was done either.
No.
So Joël could tell us that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that takes care of some of that confusion to a certain degree. Does that help you, Councillor Hicks?
Not quite, no. How can it be determined with what you sent me when I asked for the contract is a contract with no signature and no date? It doesn't exist. When Joel hired Anya, does he not know how much that room cost? He said, we didn't know how much the room was gonna cost. Well taken, I would rather see them say, the room is $250, pay for it, then you can go back and ask to get the money back, rather than free. The whole thing, it was like slipped under the mat. They had their tickets printed up, to what I understand, that was gonna happen here. Is that true or false?
I do believe it was, yeah, but the price of the room is not the only person that told us that they were gonna do a request after, so, it's quite common, if, like, I mean, the policy can be changed that we charge everybody, and then they come and ask for a donation, but that's not how, right now, how it is, so, they're allowed to book, and then we knew the request was gonna come to council, so then their decision was gonna be made then, and if the decision was no, they had already booked the room, they could have, just paid they always had the choice to just pay the fee.
Well, why don't we make a thing where rather than free, say, look, when he sits down with them, they can say, there's what the room is, $250, you pay for it, you book it. Because they didn't have a book, there was no contract, there was no signature and no date, there's no way you can make me convinced, you can send, like I said last week in my letter, you can send that right across to the lawyer across the street, and if I'm wrong, I'll pay the lawyer's fee for going and asking them. But you can't have a contract without a signature and without a date, and they had the part of 3 full months and the part of 2 other months, tickets printed, just with the idea they're gonna come and fast track that through without going through the proper process. We left here, I felt bad for Leon was saying, we can buy a ticket, and we're just all kind of like sitting here just kind of dumbfounded. And I went home that night, I'm thinking like, holy gee, what a mess that was. And there's a process clearly here in council, and taken without a contract signed, there's no contract. I'd be the richest realtor in New Brunswick. Why just put your name down, Tina Bitcom, you just bought a house, there's no signature, I'm gonna get paid, it doesn't exist. So to take, and then the comment you sent back was that this is the way council told them, this is how the contracts are. Like, I don't know when that council, what council that was to decide that, where that come from. But without a signature, you have no contract, whatever. And I mean, they had all kinds of time to take and do this, to do it the right way. And I just don't understand the philosophy, what they're doing, other than just throwing the last pass of the game, and everybody got to get a touchdown, throw it in the end zone, and everybody tip the ball, and maybe someone will grab, will have a touchdown. But very, 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 very sloppy. And there's no way you can convince me that they had a contract period. And I asked last week, we don't have the answer yet. I'm gonna ask that again, whose ink from whose pen was on that sat down with Joel that filled out that form? That's what I'd like to know.
Okay, so we will get information on what specific date was that document filled out and who filled it out. So in other words, who specifically the person requested it from Joel. So that will be found out for you. The second thing I can see here in that conversation, and I'll invite if anybody else wants to chime in. I see the councillor may wants to chime in, is that you're stating that there was in fact no contract signed. So that is something that maybe we can look at administration finance ressources humaines, because I did see that signature and that date is not just a blank line. There's a statement above it that has a binding aspect to it. So if you look at that signature, it's not just a signature, it has a binding aspect to it. So what I'm hearing, Councillor Hicks, is that you're saying there was no contract at the time because it wasn't signed, and I don't think anybody could argue that.
That's my thought, yeah.
The second thing is, as far as not meeting, maybe we could look at this differently, because I can't see any reason, being the president of the administration finance and ressources humaines, that there could not have been a meeting to follow our process prior to the special meeting. We could easily have done a meeting just on this. So maybe we can learn from that, and that we could avoid any future last minute requests such as this one be pounced on or surprised on council by ensuring that administration finance and ressources humaines call a special meeting, even if it's just for one donation. I can't see an issue with that, and being the president, I would have no issues calling it. The third thing is the second motion from that night, which probably, I agree, should not have come to council because it was out of a different fund than the one for the room. And there was a conversation next morning between myself and the CEO, and I think we fixed that. So we didn't really need Leon's motion that night. So, but I think maybe we do need clarity on what that budget of $25,000 covers and what it doesn't, so that we avoid any situations like this in the future. And that council doesn't have to make a decision on something they shouldn't be making a decision on. So I think I agree with you, Councillor Hicks, there was a whole bunch of confusion that night that we could avoid in the future. So I saw a light, but it might have already been addressed. Is it gone? Okay. What I do want to say is that,
If I can just make a comment.
yes, go ahead.
Just my comment is here, that we have to be careful. The process maybe was not followed, but we have to be careful with council, us around the table. We don't feel pressure to giving a favorable answer because we rush the process. It belongs to the administration finance, that's where it belongs. I think there were ABC other avenues to get there in a very accelerated fashion. But it's, we're not rubber stamps, we don't say yes because there's things in front of us that necessitate a favor. But as a rule, where I've been sitting on that committee, we always strive, we ask Tina first how much money we have, and we always try to give more than less when we have situations like this for a good cause. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. I don't think there's one person at this table who has an issue with the organization. And actually, it's the opposite. We all support it in some way, shape, or form. We've had experience with it in our own personal lives or careers, and we support it. And I think we showed that the following morning when we corrected a portion of the lack of decisions on the night before. But I have to clarify that it wasn't as much a lack of decision as to we sent it to their process. That's what we did. Our motion that night was very clearly sending it to our process. That was our motion. We sent it to a process. I think everybody, I felt that everybody at this table would support it through that process. So I don't think we said no. I think we said, let's look at it in a couple of days. And I think that's word for word what was said. So I don't want the organization or the public to feel that we did not support or that we do not support that organization. We in fact would have in the next few days. Councillor Hicks.
100%, Mr. Deputy Mayor, but just like I said, everything has a process. If we do it right, then we're gonna make an educated decision rather than being forced on it. My question is, CEO, how much do you sell a bottle of wine for? You said they're gonna buy, there's 36 or 38 tables, and they're gonna buy 38 or 36 or 38 bottles of wine. It was $10 plus a $3 tip to open up uncorked wine. How much do you sell a bottle of wine to organizations like this for?
It depends on which wine, and it's the cost of the bottle of wine. It's the $10 plus the $3 tip, that's the extra.
So roughly, give me a.
It all depends on the event. I don't have that information.
How many glasses of wine do you get out of a bottle?
I don't know. I don't work the bar. Like, I don't know.
So I'm just
Something
doing
that we
rough
would have
math.
to
If you
check.
get 3 or
No
4, say you get 3 or 4 glasses of wine out of a bottle. You know, you take the $13, divide that up, say, I'll give the benefit of the doubt, there's 4 glasses. That's $3.25 to look at an empty glass and a bottle with a cork in it. That's $3.25 you're starting out. So then by the time you take a bottle of wine, I mean, say it was $16. I think I'd be very generous, so I said $16. So that's $4 a glass, plus $3.25, that's $7.25. What do you sell a glass of wine for? You must be in around $7.25.
Councillor Hicks, is that an invitation for us to revise our cost structure? Is that?
I would say we're gonna certainly have a look at things or
Okay.
whatever, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
noted, thank you. Councillor Mahan.
So do we have translation or no?
I think, I don't know, yeah, she's still there,
Je venais de passer des points soulevés, puis je venais de souligner trois choses.
I chercher le mail. I chercher le mail, c'est pas pour le mail.
So,
Are we still on the same topic?
I was.
Are we still on the same topic, sur le même sujet?
Oh, no, okay.
Un autre sujet? Ok. Oh, attends.
All right. Thank you.
Maurice.
Oh, Maurice.
Oui,
OK.
Maurice.
So we're still at the,
Non.
encore le sujet soulevé par le conseil, c'est ça?
Maurice.
Maurice, oui.
Briefly, I'd like to suggest three issues. One, we'll be in less than a month, at the end of the month, we'll be halfway through our mandate. So we'll be on October 1st, we'll be officially getting into the second half of our mandate. So I'm putting that, Mr. Mayor, and to councilors, that we should be giving thoughts on some planning of priorities for the next half of our mandate. So that's one topic. The other topic is about communication. I know we approved, not sure if it was in June or maybe May, but I think it was probably more in June, when we approved communication plan. I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, that we have that on our next agenda and have an update on the communication activities for the last 4 or 5 months or. And the other topics, and I'm not sure if you'd like to see it on the agenda of the next meeting or it's simply a follow-up matter, but we are in desperate need for improvement to our roads and bridges in all over Chambéry. There has been some meetings with senior officials of DGI here and also in the field. And I would like to see what has been the work done on that since that time. So it's a matter of a follow-up, because whether it's cleaning ditches with all the bushes and so on, it was to be part of not a capital budget, but the maintenance budget. We were told that, I was told that when we visited some sites, and people are saying, you told us that because that's what I heard, and there's been basically nil activities. So that's on the root condition, communication plan, I'd like to see that, and some thinking about a working session on priorities for the next half of the mandate. The last issue is the one we've just talked. My wife and I will be attending the Godot on Saturday. I really look forward to celebrate the 25 years of activities of the South of the Okay.
Okay, I don't know who's next. Comité Richard.
All right, for me, a couple points I want to bring forward is we're gonna have a meeting on the 18th of September, and do we have an update on the rezoning process that, on the public consultation meeting that we wanted to host with the residents on Jeddah Street and Timon Street to meet with the developers? We have a firm date on that because it could probably be on the next meeting of council. Another thing that we could probably bring forward is, once the construction of the home starts, is a public consultation with the public on where they would like the dog park to be put in this community. So if you could try to either highlight a few areas that we want to have the dog park put, and then the public have their input, we would appreciate it.
Conseiller Babillon.
I would just like to, I know there's a public safety meeting coming up, President of the Public Safety Committee. I would like to reiterate, after the motion of our last council, that we address the safety on the trails. After that meeting, we still have incidents with an S on the trail. Theft, attempted theft of vehicles stemming from the trail. This morning, another fire on the trail, garbage fire. So I would say this matter is urgent. Councillor Deja said the last meeting, if we can't ensure the safety of the trails, then we need to close the trails. I stand by Councillor Deja's comments. It needs to be urgency. We're well beyond awareness here. We need to do something.
Councillor Carmi.
Thank you, Monsieur le Maire, merci beaucoup. J'aimerais juste m'intéresser quelque chose qui touche comment, je pense que l'autre. C'est qu'on sait que la croissance dans le secteur résidentiel se fait sentir. Dans la région, surtout dans le quartier 1, puis quelque chose qui me préoccupe, c'est l'état des secteurs, des services comme l'hôpital, système d'égout, puis aussi le contrôle des eaux de surface. Donc, c'est quelque chose que c'est des services qui doivent nous préoccuper avec ce qui se passe dans cette croissance-là. Je crois qu'il faut regarder aux besoins à venir très prochainement. Il faut regarder un genre de plan stratégique pour les années à venir dans ces secteurs-là. C'est un plan qui montre les améliorations et les ajouts à apporter aux infrastructures de ces trois items surtout. Puis je verrai ça sur un genre de feuille de route, par exemple, sous forme de tableau, qui montrerait, par exemple, les échéanciers, les actions à septembre pour les services d'eau potable, les coûts sanitaires et le contrôle des eaux de surface. Je pense que ça presse, qu'on se penche là-dessus, qu'on regarde ça à court et à long terme, ces services-là. Les gens vont avoir besoin de ça, avec la croissance, surtout du secteur résidentiel, qui commence à prendre l'ampleur. Merci.
Conseiller Babillon.
Assis à mon siège maintenant, je vais commenter un petit peu plus loin sur le sujet précédent, mais je voulais juste souhaiter un bon gala à l'organisme pour samedi soir, prévention de la violence, un bon gala aux conseillers qui vont participer. Comme vous savez, on a acheté plusieurs sièges. Certains de nous autres ont également choisi de les redonner à l'organisation. Je voulais remercier aussi ceux qui ont décidé de les redonner. Puis ces billets-là, je ne sais pas combien exactement, mais il y en a qui vont aller à des personnes qui peut-être n'auraient pas participé au gala. Donc l'organisme était, je suis certain, content de les recevoir et de les redistribuer à quelqu'un qui peut se déplacer et qui va bénéficier de la conférence.
OK. Je pense que toutes ces choses-là ont été notées. Merci beaucoup au conseil. Je pense que la directrice générale fera un suivi sur les points qui ont été mentionnés, de quelle manière vous voulez procéder. De toute façon, on propose une directive à la prochaine. Je suis en mesure d'avoir la levée de la réunion. Levée par le conseiller Bastarache, 9h10.